Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the KotLC Fanbase. My name is Joey and today we are going to be going over a ton of theories for what Keefe's new ability is. As you know, at the end of Legacy, he went through a change, now he's in a coma, and we all know that he is now going to be having a new ability, and we'll be going through like 16 or so little theories about what Keefe's new ability is. Before I get into this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe and click the bell notifications so you never miss another one of our uploads. And if you want to have some exclusive person benefits from our channel, please consider hitting the join button. So a couple days ago, I asked some people on Instagram what they thought Keefe's new ability is, like their personal theory, and I got a ton of responses, so I'm going to be sharing them all with you today. So the first theory out of like 16 or so is, well, I've had this thought that what if it's something no one has heard of? What if there's an ability that no one else has had? Bronte was the only inflictor until Sophie. So what if there's an ability that just haven't been triggered because they aren't known about? Like maybe that's why there's so many talentless people. So their theory is that all the talentless people just have a new ability that no one has heard of and that they haven't been triggered yet. So maybe the clue is just how do you trigger it? Maybe Lady Gisela figured out what the new ability was and then she triggered it in Keefe. They didn't go in detail on what the new ability was, but they think it's just going to be a totally new one. I kind of agree with this. I think it'd be really cool to have a new ability or maybe like a build off of another one. But let's get into the second one. That says, I think like a lot of other people have said, that it's going to be conjuring light or shadows. Lady Gisela has him test for conjuring twice, and the transformation thingy required a shade and a flasher. So this person suggests like a mix of conjuring and then a shade and a flasher, where instead of directly being a shade or a flasher, they can do both. Like they can just conjure the light and shadows. Kind of how Glimmer, she conjures, well not conjures, she is a flasher, but she snaps to get the light. They're just saying he would be a mix of a shade and a flasher. I think that would be really cool, and the only thing that backs this up is that the transformation required a flasher and a shade. The next one, which I really like, this one says, I think his new ability will be something to link him to Sophie, but something that's unheard of and new, emotion-based. I mean, that's not totally new because there's an empath, but let's just keep going. I also think he'll be in a coma for the first little bit of the book, and then we'll get to see what's going on in his head during that time. I think, like, I agree with this one the most, besides my personal theory, which I'll share at the end. But this one says that there is an emotion that will link him to Sophie. Not like an empath, but kind of like a cognate just for emotions. And I like how they said like he'll be in a coma for the first like 10 or so chapters of the book, so we can see what's in his head. We can see like maybe his past memories, maybe unlock something new. So yeah, this is my favorite theory so far. Let's get on to the fourth one. This one's small. It just says, I think it might be connected to his current ability, so maybe he'll be able to change or edit emotions. Now this one is super cool because, as I said, some people have said that it could just be a build off of another ability, just like this one. So it's like a better empath. Instead of just sensing people's emotions, he can also like change them. Like, oh, I can make you feel happy or make you feel sad. I think that would be super cool, but I really don't see how that's really useful for Lady Gisela. The next one says, I think Mesmer or Shade, because people like Grady and Tam who have those abilities don't really like Keefe. It would bring them together. So they're just basing their theory off people who don't like Keefe, because they would have a better connection, but I don't know why they're saying this because this isn't on what Grady or Tam wants. This is what Lady Gisela wants. So why would Lady Gisela want Grady and Tam to be closer to Keefe? I don't know. And another theory says Mesmer. They say, I'm thinking a Mesmer because Gisela was testing for a Mesmer back when he was in the ability testing phase. Yes, I believe she did do that, but there are a lot more theories of why he's a Mesmer, and I'll get into that later because that is actually my personal theory. I've had it for a long time now, but we'll save that for the end. And then we have a pretty long post that says, I think he might be either a Mesmer, since there aren't a lot, and if he would work with Grady, he would become a lot closer to Sophie. Now, this is kind of what my theory is, because not that Lady Gisela wants him to be closer to Sophie, but since he would work with Grady, it will bring Keefe together, which is another reason why I actually want him to be a Mesmer. But I think since Grady is the only known Mesmer in the world, and it's arguably the most powerful ability, I think this one is definitely in the standings. Next one, which is like the first theory I said, a Shade plus a Flasher. Glimmer, who is a Flasher, and Tam, who is a Shade, mix their abilities, and so it could be that Keefe will get a mix of both. This is what the first one said, where it's like a mix of conjuring, shade, and flasher. I think since so many people have said it, it might just be what the general population believes. And then the last one they have here is just a stronger empath. Maybe that's just what his mother wants. Yeah, as I said, like as somebody previously said, he can change people's emotions, because I think that would be super, super cool. Okay, this is the first original one in a long time. I think that Keefe will be a conjurer. It makes a lot of sense. In book 3, he said his mom had him get tested twice, and it would help them get the cash. So yes, they say he would be a conjurer. I do agree with this, because it seems really strange that of all the abilities, she tested him for this twice. I don't know why, but let's get on to the next one. This one is really cool. Okay, so I have a theory that Keefe's new ability will be a lightning ability. So in the latest book, Legacy, the material used to bind the elves and control them is created when lightning and quintessence combine. If Keefe is able to control lightning, then Lady Gisela will be able to create as much, I'm guessing they mean quintessence, as she wants. And then she could use that to like blow up something, I don't know, whatever she wants to do with it. So I think this could be plausible. I think there's an ability called a charger, which is basically like a lightning ability, what they're describing. But maybe she means like an altered lightning ability, I'm not sure. This one is very short, it just says maybe an inflictor. That would be very cool. Given that he is an empath, it does make sense. This is again going along with the one that said like a stronger empath, because inflictor is just like basically sending bad emotions to them and making them get hurt. Okay, the next one, which is really cool, says, my theory for Keefe's new ability is that he'll be a conjurer for Starlight or Quintessence or something in that area. I think that's because in the book Never Seen, on a sticky note, it says that his mom tested him twice to be a conjurer. Yeah, so this one is also, someone said he was going to be a conjurer, but this one is building on that and saying he can actually conjure Quintessence. I don't know how that would work, but it would be really cool if he could do that. The next one says, okay, so I think that Keefe's ability is going to be sort of an afflictor, but kind of associated with Shadow Flux and / or light. So this one is, a lot of people think that he's going to have the ability of light and darkness, because there was a flasher and then there was a shade. So this one is kind of like he can inflict light or dark on them. He can inflict like light or shadow flux on them. That would be really cool, and I can definitely see how Lady Gisela could use that to be evil. Okay, now we have some from comments under the post. It says, I think he's going to be a Mesmer because King Enki confirmed that under the right circumstances, his crown could control elven minds. And then Keefe absorbed the crown. Yeah, so then as long as what I said, I think he's going to be a Mesmer. But I think that for different reasons than Councillor Ronte thinks. But I definitely agree with this theory. And then someone else replied to them saying, I like the thought of it and imagine Sophie's dad being his ability mentor. That would make some interesting conversations for Keefe's point of view in book 8.5. Yes, it would, as I was saying a couple minutes ago. It would also not only bring him and Grady together, but him and Sophie together. And then Nev Grace 23 says, I think it's not going to be a traditional gift we've seen before. I think it'll either be a new ability that hasn't been discovered yet, or a merging of two abilities. She's probably referring to like a shade and a flasher like so many other people think. And then they say, since she put so much emphasis on it, it has to be something that hasn't seen before. Why would Lady Gisela go through all of this process to just make an ability that's already been here before? It has to be something new. It has to be something really, really powerful for her to go through all of this thing with like his legacy and the Stellar Root and all that. And then we have an original one from Katrinab_2006. I think that he'll be able to conjure the dark and the light elements like Shadow Flux and Quintessence. Again, a lot of other people think this, and then she adds a lot of more details. Then he can make them illusions. Conjuring because his mom had him test twice, so she's giving us a lot of different abilities and a lot of different reasons for them. And then it continues saying, maybe she was testing him so it would be easier when he got the new ability. The dark and the light elements because, well, she used Shadow Flux and Quintessence during this transformation, and those seem to be reoccurring in their schemes. So yes, they gave theories for why he would be a conjurer and why he would be able to conjure the light and the dark, which so many other people believe. I'm just starting to think that in my own brain, that that's what's going to happen. We have a couple more, and the last one that's an actual comment says a Mesmer. Because then Grady would be his mentor, and then he would be forced to realize that he's a sweet kid and not just that boy. Yeah, so this one's kind of like a joke, but there's no real detail behind it. It's just this, but it's still really funny, and I wanted to include it. Okay, so then I actually found a post which had so much theories for it, I had to include it. So here we go. What if Keefe's new ability is a Mesmer? Yes, that's what I think. Hear me out. It makes sense because Lady Gisela would want a Mesmer on her side, and maybe the ability he gets is only based on a member. What if there are other parts of the ability that no one knows about other than Lady Gisela? She could use that information to manipulate Keefe into coming to her for her answers. but she would only give him the answers if she did what he wanted. And this would make sense because Mesmer is a scary ability and Keefe would probably be scared of himself because of it. He doesn't want to be the bad guy. People might stop trusting him because he could just make them do whatever he wants. He would become insecure and bitter, making it easier for the never seen to manipulate him and maybe even get him to join them. And Keefe is already second guessing himself because he could possibly help Lady Gisela murder that guy and his daughter. Also, Grady is a Mesmer. The Black Swan might want Keefe to train with him on the new ability, and that would be funny to see as an interaction because Grady calls him that boy and such. It could also end up them bonding a little bit because he grows on Grady and Grady becomes the father that he's never had. And the father figure definitely can't be Alden because if I recall this correctly, Alden kind of manipulated and took Fitz's side to protect Fitz's feelings in book 7 at the beginning. Troy talked about this a little bit in his video about Sophie versus Sokeef. That was a really cool video. If you haven't already, do check that out. Anyway, he was helping his son more than thinking of other possibilities, like maybe Sophie would be better off with Keefe. So I don't think that he would consider Alden a father figure anymore. And then they continue with more. I also think that Shannon Messenger would do this partly because for the Grady and Keefe interaction, because they would have something in common, being scared of their own abilities, and with Keefe being around more, there's more a chance for Sokeef. I also think this is a chance for Keefe and Sophie to connect even more because they would both have a scary, weird ability that isn't normal. Because her inflicting is different from how it's actually supposed to be, and I'm pretty sure that Keefe's Mesmer ability would be different from how it's supposed to be as well. They didn't say how, but that would be cool. And they would be able to help each other. They both feel like a freak for their weird, odd abilities, and I just think that they would be able to calm each other down and bring comfort to each other. So obviously in the end, the theory is also a bit about Sokeef, which I know is endgame. And then she ends with saying, "Thank you for coming to my TED Talk." So yeah, I agree with pretty much everything they said. I think it's super plausible and it's totally gonna happen, in my opinion. Now we have two more, bear with me, and then we're gonna end the video. The first one says, okay, so remember in Never Seen when Keefe wrote down notes in his room in a Louvre, and he wrote down one note that said, "Why did she make them test me twice to see if I'd manifest as a conjurer?" And then when Lady Gisela placed the crown of Ethertine on Keefe's head and forced Tam to attack Keefe with Shadow Flux, triggering a Magcidin reaction, and Glimmer to trigger a reaction with Ethertine that leaves Keefe in a coma-like state. So I suspect that his ability might be conjuring light and darkness, and maybe even manipulating it. So of course, so many people have said this. It's so weird. I'm sorry for including so many theories that say the same thing, but they kind of add a new thing with every theory. So if he's not a Mesmer, he's definitely got to be this. He definitely has to conjure or control light and darkness. Okay, we have one more, and this is probably the most original one here. I don't think anyone else has said it before, so it's gonna be really cool. Let's just say it. Okay, so I feel like Keefe's new ability will be a Descrier. His mom talks about potential a lot, and Descriers read potential. The ability is also really rare because I think only one of the counselors, Councillor Tarek, has it. He's like the only one in the world. And in Lodestar, Fenton asked Keefe to take empty readings in humans for Criterion and decide who he wants to save. I feel like Gisela would try to have him do a similar thing with this scrying by having Keefe measure their potential and then choose who he would have saved. So with this theory, this is definitely really cool because it's the original one, but the only reason I don't believe this is because the scrying, although it is super rare, it's not too useful. I think that Gisela wouldn't go through all of her effort to just have a Descrier, which doesn't really have many uses for it. Because to me, if she had to do all of that stuff and set everything up, he would have to have either a new really cool ability or something that is already known but super powerful and super rare. So either that leaves me with three things. Either with an Inflictor, which many people didn't really say. I think he could be an Inflictor, it could just because of the sheer power of it. The next one is a Mesmer because, as people said before, it's super powerful. There's so much other details for that one. And then the last one is just a totally new ability, or as so many people have said, a Shade and a Flash combined. So that's what I think. So that pretty much wraps up this video. I have so much theories for them. I really hope you guys did enjoy the video. So tell me in the comments down below, which theory did you like and agree the most? Leave that in the comments down below. And also say what your own personal theory is. I can't wait to see you guys' theories, and maybe one of you guys will get them right. So that's gonna wrap this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss another one of our awesome uploads. If you notice, there's a join button right next to that subscribe button. If you click that, you get a ton of awesome perks and rewards and benefits just with a small fee a month to our channel. That is gonna wrap it up. I really hope you guys enjoyed this theory video. Share this with all your friends who have read Keeper Lost Cities and want to know more about it. That's gonna be it for me. I'll see you guys in the next video. Probably gonna be a meme video because you guys love the last one so much. All right, I'll see you guys there. Bye.